This is the final notes before we are done for Turkey Week, before we go on Turkey Week. Yay! Uh, bull market versus bear market. Hopefully, you guys have been learning all that good stuff. Oh, what? Okay. I thought I heard the bell already, but all right. After today, I hope that this makes sense, and I hopefully after today we can start wrapping this up about f prime and f double prime, and we can start doing application problems, position, velocity, acceleration, and all that good stuff, which we've already kind of done. But now let's do some more and all that good stuff. All right, here we go. The graph of the function g of x is pictured to the right. So what graph am I looking at? G of x. Identify the following characteristics about the graph of the derivative g prime. Give a reason for your answers. The interval where g prime is negative. So that's what this means. So where is g prime negative? Where is g prime negative? Well, because I'm looking at the graph of g prime is negative whenever g is decreasing. So I'm going to write g prime is negative on the interval or intervals. Let's see, there's two of them. I'm going to go ahead and color code them. There's this interval. Do you see from that interval, -4 to -2? The open interval, because it says g prime less than 0. And then the open interval from 1 to infinity. So g prime is negative on the intervals, open parenthesis, -4 all the way to -2, and 1. Yeah, notice that I put parentheses and not bracket because they're not asking for where am I decreasing. They're asking for where is g prime negative. Do you know what I mean? G prime is negative on the intervals, -4 to -2, and 1 to infinity, since g is decreasing. I guess I already said g. Since g is decreasing on bracket -4 comma -2 and bracket 1 to infinity with a parenthesis on the infinity, period. And there it is. You increase and decrease on an interval, a closed interval. So you increase and decrease with brackets, but your derivative, if they don't have the equal sign, open. Does that make sense? Okay. Later on, I know. Okay, I'll wait for you guys to finish. Right? You have caught me in the past where I don't write this statement. I just say decreasing on this, and I don't even bother with the open parentheses. That's because I put an equal sign in the bottom. Does that make sense? Now here they're forcing me. Is there an equal sign here on this one? So they're forcing me. Look, right at -4, you don't equal, like g prime is 0 there. So they don't want so you don't include the -4 and the -2, and you don't include the 1 because right at those values g prime is 0. But by definition, you decrease and increase on an interval, on a closed interval. Increase, decrease on a closed, but with the derivative not having the equal 0, open parentheses. That makes sense? Okay. All right. Let me color code it. Let me go to blue. So on the intervals where g prime is positive. So this means where is g prime positive? Okay. Well, it's positive from -infinity all the way onto -4, and from -2 all the way to +1. So I'm going to write g prime is positive on the intervals. Let's see, parenthesis, -infinity all the way to -4 and -2 all the way to 1, since g is increasing on parenthesis, -infinity comma to -4 with a closed bracket and -2 all the way to 1 with a bracket. All right, there it is. G prime is positive on the intervals -infinity to -4 and -2 to 1. Since g is increasing on -infinity to -4, the bracket on -4, and -2 to 1. If you didn't put a bracket on them, you'd be fine. But it's, it should be a bracket. What's up? That's what I was going to ask. There was like a bracket when we put a bracket to parentheses and points off. Oh, definitely do not put a bracket on these. What about Okay, yeah, no, never, okay, never, okay. If you wanna, I don't like to use the test, but if you wanna be super safe, don't put brackets on anything. Everything has parentheses. Putting brackets will get you points deducted if it's not supposed to. But if you put parentheses on everything, then you're fine. Because technically, you know what I mean? There's debates on the parentheses versus brackets all the time on Facebook. There's sites all the time. It's pretty much the people that are not like real math majors. It's a, you know, it's the whole concept about, because people are always fighting like, well, right at -4, you're not increasing or decreasing. And I'm like, yeah, but you're not looking at a singularity. You're not looking at one pixel. You're looking at an interval. So the pixel right at -4, you're right. Like if you're just looking at one pixel, it's not increasing or decreasing. But immediately the pixel to the left of it at -4.00001, it is lower than the pixel right at -4. Does that make sense? So yeah, it's increasing by the definition. The definition just means read it left to right. If the pixel to the right is bigger than the pixel to the left, y value, you're increasing. And so yeah, do you see the technicality? So increasing and decreasing in an interval, we're not looking at a singular point. You're looking at a whole interval. So that's why increasing, decreasing bracket, and then if they give you this, like that is no bracket, because now we're looking for where literally g prime is negative. Well, g prime is 0 right at -4, so we're not doing it. So that's why you put it. And that's why sometimes when you see me writing up here, if you look at previous notes, I'll put the equal sign in the bottom for the derivative, and then that way I don't have to write anything. I'll just say on this interval. But if you want to be safe, and I'm not teaching to the test, but if you want to be safe, everything what? Everything parentheses. Cool? Okay. Give the values of x where g prime equals 0. Oh, okay. Well, where's g prime 0 on this one? Horizontal tangents, and I have them where and where? Yep. G prime equals 0 where g of x has horizontal tangents, comma, which occur at x equals -4, comma, -2, comma, 1, period. All right, in conclusion, look what happens, guys, which you already know. Look at that blue, look at that red. That blue is g prime positive, that red is g prime negative. What happens when g prime goes from positive to negative? What happens to g when g prime goes from positive to negative? G has a what? A max. What happens when g prime goes from negative to positive? What happens to g? I didn't be specific. What happens to g when g prime goes from negative to positive? Min. That's what we're going to conclude right here. So in conclusion, you're going to write g. Let me write it in neutral color. G has a max when g prime goes from positive to negative, period. First bullet, another bullet. G has a min when g prime goes from negative to positive, period. How are we feeling right now, guys? Nothing crazy, right? Okay. Let's go to the next page. Before we continue, reading is important. What graph am I looking at there? H prime, label it. You can just say H prime if you don't like saying H prime of x. The graph of the derivative H prime of x is given below. Identify the following characteristics about the function h of x. So we're just looking about h. Do I have the graph of h? No. and give a reason for your response. All right. What graph do I have again? H prime. So it says the intervals where h of x is increasing. Well, h of x is increasing whenever h prime is positive. Where am I positive? And yeah, do you guys see that? This is h prime. So here it is. I'm going to write h of x is increasing on the closed. And then when you state the derivative, make sure it's open. When I say open, I'm talking about parentheses. H of x is increasing on bracket -2 all the way to 1 with a bracket, and bracket 3 to infinity with a parenthesis, since h prime is positive on -2 to 1 with parentheses and 3 to infinity with parentheses. Now, okay, to answer what Kyle was asking about last time, you could have said, let me write alternate explanation. So let's say, Miss Kyle, that I did not want to write these intervals like that again. So, and tell me if you guys like when I do this. You could have said this. You could have said h of x is increasing on the intervals. I'll even do 3 explanations, 3 alternate. On the intervals, and then I'm going to say the same thing, -2 to 1, bracket, and bracket 3 to infinity with a parenthesis there, since h prime is greater than or equal to 0 on these specific intervals. I don't know, do you like that? I pretty much said the same thing. What's the only difference? I put the equal sign. So now I'm not lying I'm not lying because at -2 the derivative is 0. And at 1 the derivative is 0. And at 3 the derivative is 0. So you see how I'm not lying? So I don't know if you guys like that. Another one, let's do, which is not my favorite. So here's another one. I'm gonna write it up here. Another one, like DJ Khaled. Do you guys know who that is? DJ Khaled. Hey, DJ Khaled, we're mentioning you. I don't know if you'll ever watch my video. You could have also said, what else could you have said? You could have said, I'm going to put an awkward emoji because I'm not a big fan of this one. There's probably a lot of teachers that don't like this, but there's probably a lot of teachers that do. H of x is increasing on parenthesis -2 to 1 and parenthesis 3 to infinity, since h prime is greater than 0 on these specific intervals. Did I lie on the alternate one? No. Would this be kind of correct? I guess. It will. It'll be kind of correct. I've been grading the AP exams for many years, and they tell us, like, hey, if the kid does this, even though we don't like it, give them the point, the full point. They don't penalize anything. It's frowned. Maybe when you become adults in a few years, if you decide to become a teacher, you can join the forums and start the fight. There's a fight on this. There's so many fights on with the difference between this one and this one. So many fights all the time, and then that's why someone eventually posts. That's why they don't take any points off when you do the reading. So don't worry. Your professors have doctorates. They're probably gonna want that one because they study real bad. Your business majors, become math teachers, not no probably. Okay, I'll stop. Just pick up a math textbook. Oh, I would say 90 to maybe even 95% of textbooks you're gonna see this one. Like, this is the best. And like, this one's like, good. And this one's like, that's okay. Okay, we're okay? All right. On the intervals where h of x is decreasing. Okay, this is h prime. So where's h of x decreasing? Where h prime is negative, and that happens to be? Yep. H of x is decreasing on negative infinity all the way to negative 2 bracket, and 1 with a bracket all the way to 3, since h prime is negative on negative infinity to negative 2 with a bracket, with a parenthesis, sorry, and parenthesis 1 to 3 here. That's full credit right there. You could have put the equal sign. I don't know. Maybe when in second semester when we start reviewing, depending on how I feel, I actually like to write the least amount. So I would probably just I'll wait. Spring semester, Chavez, will probably end it right here. I'll probably put the equal sign like that and probably just put a period there. Or since h prime is 0 on these specific intervals, I might say that spring semester, Chavez. But right now, at the moment, I'm not in spring semester, so I'm just gonna. That's correct right there. We're still okay? All right. The values of x where h of x has a relative maximum. All right. We'll have a maximum whenever h prime changes from what to what? Positive to negative. So where does h prime change from positive to negative? Just that one. So just that one. Is that the only one? Yeah, that's the only one because you read the graph left to right. So I'm going to write, what am I going to write? H of x has relative max at x equals 1 since h prime changes from positive to negative at x equals 1. I know it sounds silly to say it again, but say it again. Avoid trying to use the plus symbol and the minus symbol. For the most part, I think most readers would understand that positive symbol means positive and negative symbol means negative, but it's not. You use just English, you know? What's up? Are you allowed to use the what? Oh, yeah, that's fine. I think we're in 2025. Everyone knows what the at symbol means. But if you're not comfortable with it, you can just say the word at. It's not. That's just my habit. I just use it all the time. The values of x where h of x has a relative minimum. Okay, so there's two of them. Where and where? And 3. Why? H prime goes from negative to positive. Now, in a little bit, when you do the delta, I already put in a request. I don't know how fast I'll be with it. The delta says the word it, and I really hate that word. I put in a request already. I already put in a ticket, like delete the word it and write. Yeah. So h of x has relative mins at x equals negative 2 and x equals 3 since h prime changes from negative to positive at those x values. This time I spelled out at those specific x values. Make sure you put the word specific. Are we okay? Are you not entertained? All right, I'll stop. Tough crowd. Hey, don't worry, we're almost done. Like after tomorrow you're gonna, every day's free, right? We never charge you, but this is America and everything. Well, yeah, every day's free. When have we ever charged you? But no, we're gonna. We have. Okay, I'll stop. Well, we're just gonna. Well, tomorrow it's just your day. But I would like for you to do Cal. Yeah, of course. You can always bring snacks, even on non-Fridays. You can bring snacks. There's a free. We're all free here, miss. All right. If h of negative 1 is half, what is the equation of the tangent line for h of x at x equals negative 1? Okay, for a tangent line, what two things do I need? Do I have a point? Yes, this is your point. Negative 1, comma, half. Do I have a slope? Do I have h prime of negative 1? What graph do I have here? So do I have h prime of negative 1? Yes, h prime of negative 1 is 5. See? I have everything I need. So my tangent line is y minus half equals 5 parenthesis x plus 1. Do I have to simplify it in terms of y equals mx plus b or anything like that? No, there it is. That is full credit right there, guys. Your professor might tell you to simplify in point slope form or different form, or that's fine, but that's good enough for us. Are we okay? All right. So notice, look what it says here. And I'll try to go slow. All right, so we know the deal between the relationship between f prime and f. Let's chat about the second derivative because that seems to be giving everyone headaches. Relax. Look, since the second derivative is the first derivative of f prime, yeah, the derivative of f prime is f prime prime. Then the same relationships that exist between f and f prime must exist between f prime and f prime prime. Chavez, what does it even mean? Okay, this is what I mean, guys. We just did it. If f prime is positive, what does it mean about f? We just did it. Yeah. If f prime is positive, then f is increasing. We just did it right now. Right? We just did it. Like, yeah, right here, look. G prime is positive. Look what happened. G is increasing. You guys see that?
Yeah.
So what? What does that mean? So if f prime prime is positive, what does that mean about f prime?
F prime is increasing.
Yes. Do you see that? Do you see that? If f prime prime is negative, what does that mean about f? About f prime? F prime is decreasing. Now let's make the hold on. Now let's make the connection. Right now that you guys have the idea about, okay, if f prime is positive, that means f prime is increasing. Perfect. Now let's talk about what happens if f prime is increasing to f. So look, this is f. Do you guys agree? I'm calling that f. And then look, you guys hold on to that idea that you just thought about. Look, this is I'm going to call this line f prime. This is a tangent line. I'm going to say that f prime right there is -8. I'm going to say that this f prime right here at that moment is -4. At that moment, f prime is 0. At this moment, since it gets to be symmetrical, f prime is 4. And now f prime is 8. Okay, read the graph left to right for f prime. -8, -4, 0, 4, 8. What's happening to f prime? Increasing. Because f prime is increasing, that is what creates a concave up on the graph of f. Do we see that? Now everything's coming together, hopefully. So now let's see. If f prime is increasing, what does that mean about the second derivative of f prime prime? It's positive. F prime prime, yeah, f prime prime is positive. Good. And what does it mean about f if f prime is increasing? That what is concave? F is concave up. Are you starting to see the connections now, guys? Okay. So now look, and I thought about this long and hard, guys. This is how I come up with these things. I wanted to put I'm like, man, what do I gotta do to make it like delta? So look, I put all 3 relationships in here in a box, hoping that we can. You don't like?
This is what I was initially gonna do.
Well,
But now we're gonna do it.
look, all 3 relationships are here based off. And look, I'm putting this first. So let's see. If f prime prime is, what does this mean again? If f prime prime is positive, then f is what? Concave up. So then I'm going to write concave up in here. Concave up. And f prime is what? Perfect. Make sure when you take your notes, look, it says f prime here. F prime is increasing. Okay, are we still okay?
Yes.
All right. When f prime prime is, what does this mean? Negative. What does it mean about f? Concave down. What does it mean about f prime? Decreasing. Do you guys see that? Okay. When f prime prime, we're talking about f prime prime right here, f prime prime. When f prime prime changes from positive to negative, what is that? I guess we'll do 2 things on this. What does that mean about f? F went from, no. There it is. F went from concave up to concave down. And I'm going to open up parenthesis, which means what? That's a point of what? Point of inflection. Point of inflection. F went from concave up to concave down. Point of inflection. Okay, and I'll slow down. You guys are still writing, so. All right, think about it, guys. If F prime prime changes from positive to negative, what does it mean about F prime?
It's a max.
It's a max, so we're gonna write two things. It went from what to what? Okay, what went from increasing?
F prime.
Which means, and I'm gonna put that in parentheses, which means that F prime has a relative max. You guys see that? So I'm gonna write it. I'm gonna write the increase and decreasing first. F prime goes from increasing to decreasing, and in parentheses, I'm gonna put relative max. Make sure that you know that it's a max on F prime, not a max on F. Relative max on F prime. Because it went from increasing to decreasing. I was going up, I was going down. That's a max, but on the F prime graph. Do you guys see that? We're getting there, guys. We're cooking. If F prime prime changes from negative to positive, what does that mean about F? I went from what to what? Concave down to concave up. F went from concave down to concave up. And in parentheses, what am I going to put? Point of inflection. Or maybe I should have put point of inflection first and then said F went from concave down to concave up. But that's fine. We understand, right? Okay. If F prime prime changes from negative to positive, what does that mean about F prime? F prime goes from decreasing to increasing, which is a what on F prime? Relative min, but not on F, on what? Relative min on F prime. How do we feel now? So now that we finally got to this, do we see now how everything, look what we just did, guys. We just discussed it. We did a lot of writing.
I don't know why they put that the relationship between F prime and F prime prime are the same percent.
Maybe you just had, maybe you had to see it like
When you say
this.
it's linear, then it's like this goes to that, goes to that.
Yeah, it makes sense.
But do you see it?
Yeah.
Do you feel good? I think maybe we all just needed to see it one more time like this, you know?
I
Or-
feel like the delta there was something deeper. Because it was like you're trying to find if it's concave up, but it's also decreasing instead of saying.
Oh, there's going to be some free response questions in the AP that ask the same thing. But don't worry. Look, we got the experience. We're getting better now. And look, we're finally wrapping things up. Is all this making sense? Okay, so we're done. Let me just cue you in on what we have. Ms.